What's going on, guys? Ted from Immersion here. I am back at GenCon 2019. I'm here at the Jetpack7 booth, and I'm here with Reese, who's going to tell us a little bit about who he is and how he's tied into Jetpack and everything. So why don't we do that first?
Sure. I'm Reese Boatwright. I am working with Jetpack7 in a few different capacities, mostly as a writer. I've been with the company I came to GenCon last year. That was kind of my induction into the company. That was like they took me for like a test drive, basically. that was how they tested out if I really knew what I was talking about with D&D, and then they saw me talking about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, no, he's obsessed with this game." So,
well, that's what we want in anybody producing any kind of writing or books for D&D. So, for those who don't know Jetpack7, I mean, you guys have put out a whole bunch of products, but for those who don't know, what is Jetpack7?
So Jetpack7 is actually just kind of the publishing division of the company Conceptopolis Jetpack7. Conceptopolis is an art company owned by the art director Aaron Hubrick. And they have done art for, I mean, you've seen their art if you play D&D. They've done art for Monster Manual, they've done art for Baby Bestiary, L5R back in the day. They've done a lot of different art pieces, and so then they just decided they wanted to start making books as well. So Jetpack7 is kind of just this passion project by a really, really talented company of artists that make really beautiful art pieces, and people who really wanted to start releasing our own content for people to play with.
So there's a couple of books already out on the market. A couple are here to purchase. Some are already been successfully kickstarted. There's a current one, I believe, still going on.
Just closed it.
Just closed?
Yeah.
But why don't we let people know what products are available?
Sure. So our very first book was Gods and Goddesses. Now, the Kickstarter that just closed was actually for the Redux version of that. So any purchase of Gods and Goddesses available online would just pretty much be a pre-order for it, because now we're replacing the old book with this one. And it'll have Gods and Goddesses is a throwback to deities and demigods from previous editions.
Sure.
So it has gods from real-world cultures and folklores and whatnot, given a stat block, plenty of lore and whatnot, and then a paladin, oath, and a cleric domain for each one. So there's some player content in there as well. And then the Redux version will have a lot more player content. There will be adventures, we're adding new gods, Thor will be one of them. Yeah, we'll have some new gods and plenty of other playable content. Our book after that was Masters and Minions. Masters and Minions was specifically a GM tool. So it's got a bunch of, essentially, it's a drag and drop tool. We have 16 bosses in there that we give you plenty of information for, so that you can just pick them up out of the book and put them in your campaign without having to spend hours of prep time. And then our newest book, Legendary Dragons, it looks gorgeous. I'm still fawning over the art, but Legendary Dragons, we added 20 brand new dragons to the game. We wanted to kind of steer clear of the chromatic and metallic thing. We wanted to give them completely unique, brand new identities with really well written, drawn out lore and backstories and stuff. And then, of course, very, very intimidating, powerful stat blocks and whatnot. So we gave them plenty of information so you can put them in your campaign, and then we also went into kind of just general supplementary dragon stuff. There's a new player class in there, new player race, new dragon creatures. We even go so far as to talk about like the economics of dragon hunting. So we really went into the nitty-gritty. We wanted it to feel interactive. We wanted dragons to feel like an interactive part of the world rather than just like an intimidating, scary, powerful creature flying around the mountains.
So, if you've watched the channel and you've seen me rant about this, whether it be in a gameplay or in a commentary, I don't like existing 5th edition dragons, because I grew up with 3.5 and a dragon was a terrifying thing. And if you saw one, you ran for the hills because you couldn't do anything. They had spell casting, they had all these crazy powers, and like it was more or less like, well, this is it. We're done. And I've played a lot of 5th edition, and I've fought a lot of dragons, and I don't feel threatened by them at all.
Right.
And that's tragic in my mind. And again, I'm going to grab this book again. The ones in this book are more a hearkening back to, like, if you're going to face one of these, be ready, because this is not your dad's 5th edition dragon. We're talking, I think minimum CR for the named dragons is like 22 to like way above that, to like world ending, this is the destructor of all things if this comes to be.
I think we get up to 30 CR.
The chained, I can't remember.
Yes. What is her name? Chained Shackled Queen. Yes.
Shackled Queen. Yes, 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 yes. So, I mean, I read them, and that it's made me rework my existing campaign so that I can fit these creatures in there and build the lore around it, because they're too cool not to have in your game.
Yeah.
And yes, you said another thing that I've also complained about is there is no mechanic for harvesting parts, and dragon bits were always a huge thing. There was a whole book about it, and many books about here's how you use dragon bits and things, and this has all of that, like a well thought out economic system for how to use dragon parts and how to craft with them and new magic items. And so clearly I'm a little biased. I really do like this book a lot, and like I said, if you're a new DM and you want something cool, or if you're an older DM and you want to get something or what I also say with a lot of this is if your players are used to, they know the monster manual front and back, and they're like, oh, red dragon, well, I'll just prep this and that and it'll be no problem. You're like, well, let me show you a red dragon, and then blow them away.
Yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to get into, because 5th edition, I think, a lot of the things about 5th edition put a lot on the GM to kind of start to customize and do a lot of the work themselves, which is good and bad. It gives the DM a lot of freedom to play around and options to customize. But we kind of wanted to, with our books, we wanted to take some of the weight off the GM so that they could have these really, really cool, very specific creatures with extensive lores and backstories that they can just toss in there without spending 5 hours thinking of these awesome creatures.
And I know there's a bunch of names on the front, a bunch of names that I recognize, but you guys, I don't want to say crowdsourced, but basically had several, well-known writers in the D&D community write several of these dragons.
Right, yeah, we wanted to make sure our dragons were really good.
Sure.
So we wanted to reach out to people who we knew could create something and that would be extremely memorable and unique and creative. And there are some ideas in there that when we were first writing it and we were getting into the writing resource that we had the community be a part of, I was blown away when I was first reading them. The cover art, Vanadon Necroth, I was actually completely blown away. It's such a cool, as I would say, it's very metal.
Yes,
it is very metal, and there's just so many awesome concepts in there that we were extremely satisfied with, and it's only because we got so many talented writers to be a part of it. I didn't write any of the main dragons. I did write the Dragon Rider class, and that was a beast in and of itself, so I can only imagine the writers that took care of some of the larger, there were writers that wrote like 2 or 3 of the main dragons, and they're all extremely unique and awesome, so we wanted to make sure they were great.
Now, I know this may be hard, and I'm putting you on the spot, but I think I may already know the answer based on that, but favorite dragon in the book?
My favorite concept is Vanadon Necroth. For those who aren't familiar, he's Vanadon Necroth, the Scaled Book of the Dead. And his whole thing is that any creature who dies, their final words are magically scrawled across his scales. So he's just this big white dragon, undead dragon, with a bunch of just text in different languages slowly being written across the scales. That's just such a cool imagery.
Yeah, absolutely.
But other than him, probably Glitz.
Oh, okay.
Glitz is the purveyor of ale.
Yes,
so he's a dragon your party wouldn't be fighting unless you have a party full of people that are causing trouble in taverns and whatnot. He's super powerful. He's really, really strong, but he just wants to sell beer.
Yeah, and that's another thing I should say is it's not just all evil dragons.
Yeah.
There are good dragons, neutral dragons, and what's really cool is it's not just your D&D typical quadrupedal winged dragons. There are dragons of other mythologies as well.
I know we have one from the Norse mythos. Some of them are pulled from existing mythos and stuff that actually exists around the world, and then other ones are just pulled from the old brain space.
Yeah. So, based on that, is there anything else you want people to know about Jetpack, Legendary Dragons?
We have a lot more stuff coming out. If you guys want to get any of this online, if you're not at GenCon, and you can go to www.jetpack7.com, and that has plenty of information about where you can get our stuff. We've got a lot of new stuff in the talks that's going to be coming out. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff to get updates on that, because we're talking about a lot of new content that can be coming out, and we're really excited about all of it.
All right, yeah, links in the description for all of that. You also check out the Discord. There's a lot of good conversations happening there as well. Reese, thank you so much,
Thank you.
And I'll see you guys at the next interview.